Welcome back to Ernstrom Spinal Rehab. This is Dr. Ed Ernstrom. Just wanted to reach out to you on this election day. Yes, I did go out and vote. Hopefully you are either already done with your voting or you're in line for voting and you'll be done with it soon enough so you can go home and enjoy some time with your family this evening. But I did want to reach out to you because, yes, it is Tuesday, and then Tuesday on my YouTube station is hashtag IFNSTL, which stands for Intermittent Fasting in St. Louis. So, previous weeks we've talked about the habits and the reasons why fasting is so necessary, because we've gone to this goofy place where we're eating too frequently, spiking our insulin too often, and we get to things called hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance. We need to get back to insulin sensitivity by this practice of time-restricted feeding. Okay? Now, as we're doing this, we need to get to the point where we need to overcome something called hunger. Now, hunger is a hormone response. Now, we think that it's our body's trigger to make sure that we eat so that we don't die. Actually, it's more of a craving, but at the same point, let's get into the physiology of actually this response called hunger. So, I'm going to move my face and make it just a little bit smaller here, if I can. Make my face just a little bit. I'm going to move this over to here. And I'm going to take this little chart right here. And as you can see that we have hunger right here and we have time of day right here. Let me see if I can get this. There we go. Make this a little bit smaller so we can actually see this chart. Now we can see that in the earlier part of the day, about 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, we're at our lowest point of hunger. But then as we get towards lunch, we get this spike of hunger, and then it continues to where it's going to signal to us to have hunger at the time that's closest to dinner. And then once we're done eating, that hunger subsides, and then as we go through and sleep through the night, and then again that next morning, it's going to be at its lowest point, and then it's going to have this cycle where it's going up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, hunger is a response to a circadian rhythm, okay? That you can see right here. A circadian rhythm is something that is cyclical, redundant, repetitive, if I haven't already said the word ritual, and our brain has this squishy little part inside it called the hypothalamus, which controls all things circadian, okay? And how does it control it? It actually controls it with hormones. And majority of our hormones are actually secreted, or the hormones in here create signals for other hormones and other body parts to be secreted too. So, but the big master controller of all things hormonal actually starts up here in the hypothalamus. So what is the hunger hormone even called? Well, let's scroll down here, and we have this thing called ghrelin right here, okay? So ghrelin is the hormone that regulates hunger, and it peaks, as you can see on this chart, as our cycle of hunger actually peaks, okay? But something we're going to show you here in this really neat chart that actually goes into total hours fasting and total time fasting. Now, this study was actually done with people in continuous fasting, not just intermittent and time-restricted feeding. They actually put them through quite a few days of total fasting, okay? And just so they could actually measure the response of ghrelin, all right? Now, as we mentioned before, that in the morning you wake up and you actually have your lowest bout of hunger. So your ghrelin will be at its lowest point at micrograms per liter of blood, okay? So as you have your lowest point, you're not going to feel as hungry. But as you get to the middle part of your day, that will spike up because people are ritualistically and circadian rhythmed to actually eat lunch at a predictable time of the day, okay? And then also, after you've finally eaten your dinner, the hunger, you've now been satisfied, and will continue to go down through the evening as you get to the next morning. It's at its lowest point. Now, this isn't a continuous fast. If you haven't noticed here, this point right here after about a day and a half of not eating is actually lower than the point on the previous day. So what is this showing is that we've actually had a peak here, and then all of a sudden, as it has a dramatic drop because we haven't eaten yet. So this is a protective mechanism to make you not uncomfortable while fasting too long, because we did adapt from ancestors that were hunters and gatherers. And there was times of famine that hunger eventually became so uncomfortable that it was no longer a motivator, and it actually would be an inhibitory type thing and prevent people from wanting to go out and find the food because they would be so miserable. So what we're finding is that as we continuously fast, we start noticing that this ghrelin gets lower and lower day after day. And so with a great amount of practice, each day that you do time restricted feeding, you're going to start noticing that those times of day that your ghrelin is supposed to be lowest is the time of the day that you're going to feel the least amount of hungry. Now, the hack and the habit that I want you to get into here is that I only want you to eat when you are truly hungry. Now, you don't know what true hunger even feels like until you've actually gotten to a point where you haven't eaten for a long time, and you're starting to recognize the differences between true hunger and ghrelin. Because ghrelin will give you the rumblies in the tummy, okay? And that will actually make you feel that way. But true hunger is when all of a sudden you start to get low energy, maybe a little brain fog because your energy flexibility and metabolic flexibility isn't doing what it's supposed to at that moment. And so you need to then put new nutrients and new caloric valued foods back into your body. That is real hunger, okay? Deprivation is the one of the greatest cures for actually overcoming hunger, okay? Because when you finally know what hunger even feels like, then you can start recognizing the difference between ghrelin and true hunger, okay? So, all in hindsight, and to recap on all of these things, when you start to recognize that the grumbly in the tummy is, if you wait it out, if you stay busy during those times, you're going to find it a lot easier to get past that. Now, other things that you could do is also take a pinch of salt, put it on your tongue, let it dissolve. A lot of the times the hunger ghrelin response can be satisfied with the taste of electrolytes and minerals, okay? So just the taste of salt can actually overcome the ghrelin. Also, staying well hydrated while in the fasted state with your electrolytes is going to make sure that you don't have as high or as strong of a ghrelin response too. And stay busy, if I didn't already mention that, which I already know I did, but keeping your mind preoccupied at those moments when you feel the grumblies, you will be able to get past them. Because if you haven't already done this already, you've maybe worked through a lunch and recognized that you got into the mid-afternoon and you realized that you hadn't eaten lunch, but you're not really hungry anymore, but you sure did feel hungry while you were trying to work through it. And then you get to dinner and you're like, you know what? I don't even remember being hungry. Or you remember being hungry, but you definitely remember the time since then in the middle until you were hungry again for dinner that you were able to get over the ghrelin. Okay? All right, I'm going to sign off here. If you haven't already, like this video, like my previous videos. If there was something that you didn't like about it, you can hit the not like button. I have a pretty thick skin, but please leave comments if there's something that you disagree with or that you agree with, or if you have questions about a deeper topic within these topics that I'm talking about. I can then respond to that comment or make a whole new video based off of your questions. All right, also, if you haven't already and you're still watching this video, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I make new content for my YouTube station. Also, hit the subscribe button so that you can follow me regularly. If you're watching this on other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, like, share, tag somebody to this. Make comments on those video posts as well. All right, everybody, I am going to sign off because I want to go home. Take care.